I'm sitting here with my actual friend Todd, who's an actual Ashkenazi Jew, who's actually getting married in a few months. He's the perfect candidate for JScreen, but he might not know it. His fiancée is of Hispanic descent with no Jewish background. Even though his fiancée is not Jewish, between the two of them there are hundreds of genetic disorders of which they can both be carriers. I just wanted to discuss with Todd about some of the reservations he has so we can debunk some of the myths about genetic disorders. Todd, what are your hesitations?
Well, look, I mean, I didn't even know this was a thing until you brought it up. And it's scary because I thought I was super healthy. I work out, I eat healthy, organic. My fiance is the same way. And now that I know about this, it just makes me a little bit worried about what could be happening that we don't know about. Why would I want to know that I have some genetic disease? Why would I know that? Why would I want to know that ahead of time?
Does it freak you out to think that you could be a carrier for a genetic disease?
Of course. And why would I want to get a test to then complicate my marriage that hasn't even begun yet? So I'd rather not do it.
Is it an awkward conversation that you're afraid to put?
I mean, what if I talk to my fiance about it and then I get tested for it and I'm positive, and then she might leave me because I can't produce a healthy baby?
Did your doctor bring this up knowing that you guys were getting married?
No, and he knows my background as being a Jewish person and her background as not. But now that I know that it's a real thing, I want to learn more about it, but I'm still not comfortable with it. Why should I do it?
What are your concerns?
How's it going to help me to know that I have it? Wouldn't that just give me one more thing to worry about?
Is it scary for you if you found out that you were a carrier for a genetic disorder?
Absolutely. Wouldn't it scare you? I know you're a therapist, but if you found out that you were a carrier, wouldn't you be afraid?
Well, it's not all on you because you would both have to be carriers of the same genetic disease.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. That's perfectly rational. And I guess fear makes you do things or not do things in this case because you're worried about the consequences. But now that you're saying that, it does make sense to get tested. And I guess it's easier to get tested considering it's just spitting into a little tube rather than going to a doctor and having to draw blood. So I'm into it.
And Vanessa has a huge fear of needles, right?
Yes, both of us do.
And clowns?
And clowns.
And even if you are both carriers, it's not guaranteed that your child's going to have the disorder.
So then why should I take the test anyway?
Would you take an HIV test?
Sure, of course.
Would you get sexual health testing?
Of course.
Not taking a test because you don't want to find out the results, to me, is completely irrational. It's like, I don't want to find out if I have HIV, so I'm not going to take the test and let's just see what happens.
I get what you're saying. It's just going to stress me out if we know that that's the case. But I guess what you're saying is that we can take steps to correct it if we do find out. So is what you're saying, should we take the test?
The only way to know if you're a genetic carrier is to get tested or have an affected child.
Okay, well, it would be terrible if I found out that after my child was born, I could have done something about it. So that's a good point.
And some of the disorders are severe and life-threatening. So I'm sure you guys are on top of everything with the wedding, right?
She's literally deciding between 10 different stamps to put on the invitations. So yeah.
Stamps. How many hours have you spent thinking about who should sit with whom and who needs to avoid this other person at all costs?
Too many.
For real?
Yeah.
Yeah. And is that going to save anybody's lives?
I doubt it.
Is that fair? So you spent so many hours thinking about who can sit with whom and who needs to avoid whom at all costs. And this is going to take 10 minutes of your life and determine whether or not you can have a healthy child. 1 in 4 of us are carriers for a genetic disorder that JScreen tests for. So chances are pretty good that you might have something, or Vanessa has something. The issue is we're trying to figure out which disorders you guys have so you don't match up. And if you do, then there are tons of options available.
That makes perfect sense. I didn't know those statistics until you pointed that out. So it's helpful.
So the smartest thing to do is to find out if you're both carriers to reduce the risk of having an affected child. Your wedding's going to last like 6 hours, and this can take 10 minutes to prevent having an affected child.
So what do I do when I test positive, or when Vanessa tests positive? What do we do?
It's not that big of a deal if you test positive because there are so many options available. Your results are going to be delivered to you by a licensed genetic counselor, either on the phone or by video chat. and he or she will answer any questions that you can have and discuss your results and really give you some peace of mind.
That's great. That really helps me move on and achieve that peace of mind.
Do you or Vanessa have any family history of genetic disorders?
No.
Trick question, because 80% of babies that are born with genetic disorders had no family history.
Interesting.
Got you, good. Yeah, anytime you get tested, waiting for the results can be anxiety provoking. But the smart decision is making sure that you don't have a child with a severe genetic disorder.
Yeah, well, now that I know that, I'd be an idiot not to get tested.
And I know that the whole wedding planning process can be kind of this dreamy fantasy, but the reality is that none of us are invincible.
Yeah. Bang. Thank you.
That was authentic.